Hi, this is Barrister Farhan Mustafa. As you all know, solving an answer in law is a bit different and difficult. Today's video is going to be a guideline towards how to solve an answer in law. I hope it will be beneficial for those in need of it. Let's see how to solve an answer in law using the IRAC formula. IRAC is an acronym for each step of the process. I stands for issue, R stands for rule, A stands for analysis, C stands for conclusion. Let's see how the IRAC formula works on each step of the process. Let's come to the first aspect of the IRAC formula, that is issue. One of the most important skills you will need to develop when engaged in legal analysis is issue spotting. Remember, the term is issue spotting. The issue is a question or problem to be resolved by application of a legal rule. Do not assume there is only one issue for each legal problem. Sometimes there is only one issue involved, but in the real world and in the exams, it is more likely to be there are many. Sometimes you need to resolve one issue before moving on to the next. For example, in a negligence actions, you will want to know whether the defendant owed a duty to the plaintiff before you can determine if a duty was breached. If no duty was owed, then no duty was breached. Let's now see how do we spot issues. If you are reading a court decision, you will probably be told what issues the court is deciding. If you are not given the luxury, then you must determine what legal problem needs to be answered or solved. Let's look at an example. Suppose a client comes in who has been injured in a car accident. Some issues that you may need to know to resolve include issues of liability, theories of recovery available known as a claim or cause of action, the burden of proof to establish liability, defenses to liability, and measure of recoverable damages. Furthermore, whether it is to do anything because of a statute of limitations. As you can see, it can get complicated. The key to issue spotting is to pay careful attention to the facts and determine what facts pose issues. Let's now come to the second aspect of the IRAC formula, that is rule. The next step is to find and list the legal problems that apply each legal issue. Legal rules come from four primary sources. Number 1, constitutions. Number 2, statutes. Number 3, regulations. Number 4, case laws. If you are reading a court decision, the court will identify the applicable legal rules and will usually spend some time explaining each. If you need to find the rule that applies to an issue, then you will have to engage in legal research. For example, you may review Supreme Court opinions to determine the required elements to establish the tort of negligence. Let's come to the third aspect of the IRAC formula, that is application or analysis. At this stage, the law is applied to the facts to resolve the issue. If you are reading a court case, the court will spend time explaining how it applied the law to the facts to reach its decision. An easy example is determining whether a statute of limitations precludes a lawsuit. Let's say that a prospective client has come into the office that was injured 4 years ago. You believe that client has a viable claim, but discover that the statute of limitations or the deadline in which to file a claim is 3 years. Thus, the statute of limitation bars the claim, which means that the deadline to file a claim is 3 years. As the prospective client has already passed 4 years, he does not have a viable claim due to the statute of limitations. Let's now come to the last aspect of the IRAC formula, that is known as conclusion. The conclusion is the result of the application of the law to the facts used to resolve the legal issue. In a court opinion, the conclusion is the court's holding or decision. While you have already reached your conclusion in the application section, it is good practice to restate that in conclusion. Conclusions can often be quite short. For example, you may conclude that a client was a victim of a battery but does not have a claim because he is the one that started the fight and the other party has a valid claim of self-defense. That brings us to the end of the discussion of how IRAC formula is being used. Now we come to the aspect or the area how to write a good essay in law. This is an important question as you cannot be expected to produce a good essay until you know what features combine together to create a good essay. In essence, a good essay is one that answers the question and, in doing so, demonstrate a range of written and analytical skills. It is important to emphasize that a good essay requires as much thought to be given to the way that essay is constructed as is given to its content. In other words, it is not enough that you know the relevant law and commentary. You must also know what to do with it in order to write an effective essay. A good essay should demonstrate the following: a foundation of accurate and relevant knowledge about legal topic that is subject of the question, wide-ranging research that identifies a variety of relevant source material appropriate to the subject matter, effective use of source material so that it is integrated into the essay and used to strengthen your arguments in a way that demonstrates your understanding of the material and its role in your work, the ability to filter out irrelevant or peripheral points and to maintain a firm and consistent focus on central issue raised by the question, a flowing line of argument set in a clear structure with an effective introduction and conclusion, an appropriate balance between description and analysis, good written communication skills in producing a coherent and eloquent piece of work, a true approach to referencing that ensures that all source material is acknowledged in a complete appropriate style. Now let's see, how do we write an introduction? Let us first see what the introduction means and what does it do. It actually identifies the central subject matter of the essay. It unpicks the question, thus demonstrating to the marker that you have understood the requirements of the essay. It sets out the issues that will be addressed in the essay in order to answer the question, which gives the marker an idea of what to expect in the essay. It may give an indication as to the conclusion that is reached in the essay, although opinion is divided on this point. In essence, or in the overall context, it can be said that the introduction gives the marker an instant impression of whether you have understood what the question requires and an indication of the points that you have included in your essay. Now let's see through Bloom's taxonomy how to analyze. First of all, you must have the ability, or your answer must have the ability to criticize the law and make judgments about its value and efficacy. Secondly, it should have the ability to draw together strands of law to make a coherent argument and to see parallels with other areas of law. Then it should have the ability to break legal issues into their component parts and evaluate them. Then comes the aspect that it should have the ability to relate the law to a particular situation and understand how it operates in a range of different circumstances. It should have the ability to demonstrate the understanding by explaining the law in own words and selecting relevant examples. Finally, it should have the ability to identify and note relevant information. Now we come to the aspect of how to write a conclusion. The conclusion is the last thing that your marker reads before he starts deciding what grade to award. Make sure that they are left with a good impression of your work by ensuring that it has a strong conclusion that ties together the strands of the argument that you have outlined in your essay to create a direct response to the question. This should include the following: a statement of the aim of the essay, a brief reminder of the arguments that you have presented, a direct answer to the question, and that is the end of our slide today.